Well, hello and welcome. I'm Chesley McNeil, and this is The Take, where we go above and beyond the headlines and we look at the why and how stories are impacting you and your community. We invite the experts in to share their take on today's top stories, and we try to have just a little bit of fun as well. Not going to have fun on Monday morning when this cold air begins to move into our forecast area. Boy, we are looking at about a 20-degree drop. If you look at the temperatures today in the 70s, and then by the time we get to Sunday, we're looking at temperatures in the 60s, and then we drop about a good 20 degrees down on Monday, down to the 40s, 45 degrees for the high temperature, despite the fact that we'll have some sunshine around, believe it or not. 29 degree start on Tuesday morning. That's below the freezing mark there, folks. And so we're definitely going to have some freeze warnings and some frost advisories around that forecast area. 52 degrees on Tuesday afternoon, so we'll rebound a bit. In fact, that cold air comes in and gets right out because we'll see those temperatures creeping back up into the 60s by the time we get to Wednesday and Thursday of next week. Now, there is some rain coming this weekend as well. The possibility for some scattered showers, possibly a thunderstorm late tonight going into Saturday morning. Then by Saturday afternoon, a few scattered showers, and that could linger into Sunday as that secondary front moves through our area, which is what's going to bring us that Arctic air back to the forecast area. All right, look now at the tarmac of Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. We all know thousands of passengers will be moving through there, what's known as the world's busiest travel hub. And that hustle and bustle is set to be cut down starting today. The FAA is requiring domestic flight operations to be reduced by 4% today at 40 major U.S. airports, including right here at the ATL. It's because of the mounting fatigue and staffing shortages among air traffic controllers amid the ongoing federal government shutdown. Now, it's going to ramp up to 10% by next week if this shutdown continues. The cuts will hit domestic flights. International flights are largely exempt. And with all those reductions now set to take effect, and Atlanta right in the middle of it all, a lot of travelers are asking what can they actually do to protect their travel plans. Joining us now is Professor Lori Garrell of she's the co-director of the Georgia Tech's Center for Urban and Regional Air Mobile, to break down what this means for passengers and how to navigate this turbulence that is ahead for us. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, Chelsea. Good to be back.
All right, talk to me about the significance of this FAA mandate and this flight reduction. How significant is this?
Well, so it is unprecedented, right, that we've been this proactive on actually trimming flights before we know there's problems. We have been seeing some stress in the system. I'm sure if you've gone to the airport recently, you may have seen all the flight delays on the boards. So we're starting to see delays pop up in airports, particularly New York, other areas. So we're being proactive. The way I like to think about it is when you go to the highway and you see the little light that basically meters you getting onto the highway, we're doing the same thing here. So we're sort of controlling the number of aircraft in the sky, or cutting that down to hopefully prevent, significant delays and cancellations.
Atlanta is such a big airport, and when you say 4%, a reduction of 4%, it doesn't sound like much, but is that significant even for Hartsfield-Jackson?
So at the 4% level, my personal opinion is that I think it's going to be manageable. And the way to think about it is you have some flexibility. So the carriers have been saying, for instance, that if you have a market where you go and you do 10 flights a day, they can cut that back to 9 or 8 with minimal disruptions. As this continues into the 10% next week, it clearly will get more difficult. And some of the smaller spoke cities coming into Atlanta could be impacted. So for instance, if you have, like my family lives in Erie, Pennsylvania, there's 3 flights a day to Charlotte. Instead of having 3 flights, that could get cut down to, 1 or 2. So there are possible, like a lot of the carriers are saying, the regional or these smaller cities are going to be impacted, as well as right now, it's really the high frequency markets. So you can take it's a lot easier to go from 10 flights to 8 and recompile, get the passengers on the remaining 8.
Wow. All right. So 10%, what you just mentioned, is expected by next week, right?
Yeah, next Friday.
Yeah, and so that means, and as we are heading toward Thanksgiving, with that 10% reduction, is it expected to go higher, or will we remain at 10% as long as the shutdown continues?
So they're noting the 10% right now, but there again has been talk that, again, if we start seeing significant delays, that will, or again, ATC, TSA not, stresses continue, that could go higher.
Okay.
So For now, I think we're okay, but definitely have an eye on, yeah, Thanksgiving and subsequent travel coming up.
Oh yeah, that's a big day. That's a big one right there. What's the first thing travelers should do today if they have a scheduled flight for this upcoming weekend?
So make sure you have the app for the airline on your phone so that you can monitor delays, any rebooking that they may automatically do. If you have already booked your travel, you might be able to see if you can go out earlier, right? So, and I know that sounds bad, but like if you have, the wedding that you're going to and you had planned on coming in, Friday before the wedding on Saturday, my recommendation is, if at all possible, to see if you can go out a day earlier, Thursday instead of Friday, right? To make sure you can attend that big event. If you were flying at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, see if you can stand by for an earlier flight or call to see if you can rebook on an earlier one. Just to give yourself more buffer, right? So those are strategies I do in situations like this.
Some airlines are handling this a little bit better than others in terms of flexibility or rebooking options. Are we finding that to be the case?
Yeah, I think all of the major carriers have basically given waivers on your ability to reschedule. So even if you have like a basic economy fare where typically that isn't the case, we are seeing a lot of those waivers come in to help passengers moving to different flights, cancellations, if they want to cancel their trip altogether, et cetera. So we are seeing that flexibility. I was seeing it, I think at least all three, if not more, have announced that.
Yeah. You mentioned a wedding, for example, right? What if it's more essential, like you got business or a medical or a family emergency? What's the smart way to build a backup plan?
So backup plan is try to get out as early as can. Again, try to leave as much buffer, like I said. Keep monitoring flights on multiple carriers. If you have different options, if one cancels, see if you can, try to go to a different one. Those, again, are probably the best strategies. Hate to say it, but see if you can drive. If it's close by, not dealing with the hassle. So, yeah, different strategies.
I'm going to put on your psychology hat here for a minute, right? We know that there's going to be long lines. People get impatient. What's the best rule of thumb to keep the travel stress down low right now, you think?
Yeah, so I think part of it's managing expectations. So try and get to the airport early, recognizing the person, checking you in or, handling the flight has not been, paid fully for about a month. So try to put yourself in their shoes, I think sometimes helps. And I call it pack your patience, right? So it is tough, but I always bring, something fun to do at the airport, thinking I'm going to get delayed, whether it's reading a book or just trying, as I call it, to get in the zone where I'm not, trying to focus so much on the delay.
Professor Lori Garrow, thanks so much. Getting in the zone. I like that. Appreciate it. Thanks for your insight today. All right, folks, don't go anywhere. Thanks. You're watching The Take, and we're back right after this. All right, back to the Shutdown now with NBC's Alice Barr in Washington, D.C. Hello, Alice. First, let me ask you this. With the cuts, we can talk about these cuts in flights, of course, at 40 busy airports, including right here in Atlanta. Does the FAA or the Department of Transportation have some sort of contingency plan in place if the shutdown kind of drags on here?
Right. So good morning, Chesley. So first of all, these flight reductions are beginning today with just 4%, and they're going to ramp up if the shutdown continues through next week. We heard Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy really issuing some dire warnings about how chaotic things could become if the shutdown does extend through another week, which it looks likely that is going to happen. Come Tuesday of next week, what is now a 4% reduction would move up to a 6% reduction in flights. And just translate that in your mind to canceled flights, more and more canceled flights. And then by Friday of next week, it would go up to the 10% reduction in flights that the Transportation Secretary initially talked about, but they're sort of phasing it in, and they're hoping that something shifts on Capitol Hill before they have to get to that full amount, because already we've seen close to 2,000 flights canceled at those 40 busy airports from coast to coast, and that's just with the 4% reduction so far. So you can envision how that will begin to snowball if it gets to those higher numbers, and this is all, again, they're saying proactive measures to stay ahead of the staffing shortages to make sure there's not too much strain on the system.
All right, let's talk about SNAP benefits. Alice had a conversation with some friends yesterday. I heard about the court ruling. Are they getting those benefits? Are they not? Break down the court ruling for us a little bit.
So this latest ruling is the judge saying that it's not good enough for the Trump administration to issue partial payments, SNAP food assistance payments to low-income folks who count on these benefits in order to pay their family, or rather feed their families. What the administration has been doing is processing payments at 65% of the total. Initially, it was going to be 50. It moved up to 65, but the judge said that's not good enough. It has to be 100%. And the judge accused the Trump administration of having dragged its feet on a previous order from last week to get these payments up and flowing again quickly. The judge also accused the Trump administration of having political motivations in holding back these payments. And the judge pointed to a social media post that President Trump put up on Tuesday, where he said that all of these SNAP food benefits would be withheld until Democrats agreed to a deal to reopen the government. Now, the White House press secretary clarified that that post was referring to future SNAP payments and said the administration is complying with the order. But nevertheless, it was directly cited by the judge as part of the reason that they see the administration not doing enough quickly enough to get these benefits restored. The Trump administration is appealing the ruling to fully pay the benefits by today, arguing that they need to be in control of how this is being done, that they're trying to do what they can to get the payments out, but need to have control over how it's done.
All right, we're also expecting another vote on short-term funding in the U.S. Senate. As soon as today, it could happen. But with the Democrats scoring such big wins on Tuesday's election, is there any change in when the stalemate could end?
Yeah, this is interesting because there had been a number of Senate Republicans who'd been saying, okay, now that the election is passed, Democrats can kind of take their wins and go home, and they don't have to worry anymore about having the base motivated to get to the ballot box, you know, maybe being turned off by seeing Democrats who they've been urging to kind of hold the line by seeing them back down. That was one side of the coin, but on the other, Democrats do seem to be kind of emboldened by having these election wins, and they're saying, hey, the voters are telling us that they want us to stick up for health insurance benefits to make sure this happens as part of a deal to reopen the government, and in fact it could make it even a little bit more intractable.
Got it. Alice, really appreciate your insight this morning. Thanks so much. There's plenty of stories for you coming up, folks. This is The Take, and we're back right after this. With the shutdown entering its second month, roughly 800,000 federal employees are now furloughed or working without pay. As new data shows, Americans growing more anxious about job security and hiring freezes. A new CNBC poll shows that just 29% of Americans feel very confident about keeping their jobs, the lowest mark since late 2022. ADP reporting private employers added only 103,000 jobs in October. That's down from 159,000 the month before. And the U.S. Chamber of Commerce warns that the shutdown could affect up to 1.3 million federal contracts, many now facing furloughs or stalled projects. As more workers find themselves in limbo, some are turning to technology for help, using AI tools for reworking their resumes or uncovering new career paths, or even translating federal experience into the private sector for opportunities. Joining us now is Daniel Beecham. He is the CEO and founder of Prop Agent, to talk more about how AI is reshaping the modern job search, especially for those caught in this shutdown, this federal government shutdown. So welcome to the show, first of all, Daniel.
Thank you, Chesley. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. How is AI changing traditional hiring practices for both job seekers and for companies doing the hiring?
Absolutely. AI has been integral in the applicant tracking systems, right? So on one hand, you have AI going through each and every one of these applications before a human ever sees it. So up to 75 or more than 75% of these applications don't even get seen by humans. And so on the other hand, we are more empowered by AI tools than we ever were. So the average applicant can rework their entire resume instead of, maybe 15, 30 minutes, you can do it in seconds. So the good news is there are thousands of these tools, and the bad news is that there are thousands of these tools to choose from. So you have, it's really about finding something that you're comfortable with. So really early on, I recommend going with something that you've already been using, whether that's ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or perhaps even Venice AI if you have privacy concerns. All really great tools to start working in that direction.
As you mentioned, which way do you turn? For somebody that's suddenly out of a job, right? Especially for those federal employees caught out here in this shutdown, what's the smartest way to use AI to jumpstart your search?
Yeah, absolutely. So as someone who is a previous government employee, you might find that your resume sounds very much like government speak, and that's a completely different language than the private sector. So what you want to do is firstly use AI by putting your resume into one of your favorite AI tools and asking it to translate your skills and experience into something in the private sector. That way you can understand what kind of jobs are good fits for you. The next thing you want to do from there is take that within that same context, within that same conversation, have it create a resume that fits that job description that you seem like is a good fit for you, and that the AI has also given you that kind of insight into. So that's the first kind of two pieces that I would go at if I were a government employee looking for a private sector job.
Mm-hmm. Is AI smart enough to, I'm asking this question, is it smart enough to distinguish you from the rest of the pack that would be doing the same thing?
So the good news is everyone is not doing this, right? So at the moment, yes. And the main concern that you have is getting in front of a human and getting your resume read, right? So if you are that bottom 75% where your keywords are not matching and the context of your content is not matching the job description, you're not going to even get eyes on it. So your main goal is to get eyes on your resume so you can even start having those conversations.
Are employers worried about people who use AI, or does that even matter at all?
I would say the opposite. I think that they find AI skills to be highly relevant in today's workforce. So if you're using AI skills, you're actually ahead of the pack here. So as you're going out and tampering with your resume and improving it and making those adjustments, you're actually building your AI skills at the same time, which is something you can speak to when you are having these interviews. And if you do get to the interview stage, which this is where it gets super exciting, and in my opinion, there's voice modes for ChatGPT and Gemini, which you can have natural language conversations with these agents, and they will interview you. And you can then get interviews as many times as you want, and it will critique you if you ask it to. It will give you summaries of your interview results, and it will give you actionable items that you can then go on and improve on. And they're tireless. They do not sleep. So you can always go back for more of these, more interviews, more practice, and really refine your core messaging to be able to make sure that when you do get the interviews, you are nailing it.
This is amazing. I mean, it's the technology and what it does today. I mean, I'm a little old school, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you're going to stay competitive, you need to learn how to use it, right? Daniel Beecham, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me again.
Not a problem at all. All right, after the break, we're going to talk to you about how to eat healthy while staying on budget. That's coming up next. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. You know, eating healthy is often seen as a luxury. With food prices still elevated, many families are cutting back on fresh produce, lean proteins, and whole grains. Yeah, CDC study says roughly 35% of U.S. adults can't afford nutritious food on a regular basis, especially fresh produce and those lean proteins. Add that to a Harvard study which found that on average, healthier diets cost about $1.50 more per person per day than less nutritious options. That adds up to be about $550 a year. And the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that prices for fresh fruits and vegetables have risen nearly 30% since the pandemic. But new data is showing that small swaps and smarter shopping choices can go a long way in keeping your body and both your budget on a balance. Here to break it all down for us is Dan Benardot, professor of practice at Emory Center for the Study of Human Health. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's nice to be here with you.
All right. What's the biggest misconception when you hear about nutrition and affordability?
I think the biggest misconception is that people tend to lower the number of meals that they consume because They obviously don't have as much money to pay for meals. And meal skipping is a big problem because humans are essentially energy first systems. So we have to sustain a reasonably good energy balance throughout each 24 hours. And the best way to do that, whether you're on a budget or not, is to have smaller, more frequent meals. That becomes even more essential when there isn't enough food to consume so that you can stay in a reasonably good energy balanced state. So instead of the common 3-meal-a-day practice, I would say, have a somewhat smaller breakfast, eat a little bit mid-morning, have a little bit more at noon, have a little bit mid-afternoon, a little bit for dinner, and a little bit later. That will help you sustain a reasonably good energy balance so that your neurological system can keep functioning, and it helps to control the enzymes and the hormones that keep you well.
Yeah.
So if you go too long without eating, then you go into a low energy balance state, and you tend to tear down your muscle mass. When you eat, you tend to be hyperinsulinemic, so you make more fat, which increases the risk for cardiometabolic disorders. So, I think that's a big misconception. Another one is, protein. And people, are rightly concerned about protein, but they don't have the first clue about how to optimally eat it so that the body can use the protein that you have consumed well. So, ideally, humans can metabolize somewhere between 20 and 30 grams of protein in one meal. That's far less than people typically consume. But, if you look at the total protein requirement, that means that, again, you have to eat that protein a little bit more often throughout the day. So smaller feedings throughout the day helps you sustain both your energy balance and your protein state so that you can keep your tissues working. I can give you a little analogy if you'd like.
Yeah, please.
Okay, sure. So imagine you've got a car in Atlanta and you want to drive to Los Angeles, and you tell the car, look, the tank is full. Take me all the way to Los Angeles. I don't want to stop because I'm in a hurry to get there. I'll give you all the fuel you needed once we get there. Can't do that.
Yeah.
And actually, you have all kinds of problems if you do that with your own body. So you can't let yourself go into a low fuel state. You also can't talk to the car and say, I don't want to stop. I'm going to give you all the fuel you need right now for the entire trip. And the car says, well, my gas tank's not big enough. And you say, well, I'm going to give you more gas tanks.
Right.
And that means more fat mass for humans. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
Or you can have a third conversation, say, I'm going to fill you up now. I'm going to stop about every 350, 400 miles and fill you up again so that you never overfill and you never go to empty. So that's really, the best thing that you can do, especially when being able to provide a lot of variety of foods is difficult, as is the case with many people who are lower income.
Tell us, what are some of the common grocery items that people think are healthy but may not deliver on the best nutrition for their cost?
Well, a lot of the meats that they consume are high in fat, and that's not, desirable. Fried foods taste great, but, that exceeds, what the body can tolerate well without increasing body fatness and blood lipids, which can increase cardiometabolic disorders. But, a lot of people think that the best way to get good quality protein is to eat meats. And yes, meats provide good quality protein, but if you know how to combine vegetables and grains, you can get very good quality protein. So, as an example, beans are an excellent source of protein, but they're low in amino acids. Whole grains are a good source of protein, but they're also low in 2 essential amino acids. But the 2 amino acids that the grains are low in are different than the 2 amino acids that the beans are low in. So if you eat them at the same time, you get a very nice balance of the essential amino acids, and you get a very good quality protein at an extremely low cost.
There you go, Dan.
So, little things like that.
Yep. Thanks so much for joining us. We're out of time now. I could talk to you all day about this, really. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Thanks so much.
Have a great one.
All right.
Okay.
Coming up on the show, Zach Merch is going to sit down with me to talk all things Georgia politics. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss this. Tuesday wasn't a presidential election, but there was still plenty of important races on the ballot and a fair share of excitement over some of the results. Let's look back at Tuesday and look ahead to next year's midterms with 11Alive Zach Merchant. Always joining us here with co-host of the Georgia Vote. Good to see you, my friend.
Chesley, it is always good to see you. It feels like Friday morning has officially started for me when I get to hang out with you and everybody who watches The Take.
I feel like you were running for something. Congratulations.
I'll take the handshake, but I certainly am not running for anything. But boy, we had a very interesting Tuesday night here in Georgia, Chesley.
Absolutely. What was the big takeaways from that?
I think a couple things, and there's some trend line here too, a broad one that I think just as a local journalist we should highlight right off the bat. There is this theme where Georgia politics, they bubble up into the national spotlight sometimes, and then there's no shade to our national counterparts. They do good work, but I think they sometimes forget how intriguing our politics are. And then something interesting happens again, and I wake up and I'm reading the national coverage, and I'm seeing stories about local utility board races, like the Public Service Commission here in Georgia. We've been talking about this, Chesley, you and I, just on this show for 3-4 weeks now about how interesting they're going to be, and they turned out to be exactly that. Tuesday night, there were 2 incumbent Republicans on the Public Service Commission up for re-election. That Public Service Commission is the utility board. They regulate utilities here in Georgia, probably most notably, most prominently, they regulate power rates here in Georgia. So if you get a power bill, they play a role in your life. 2 Democrats lined up to challenge them. Those Democrats won, flipped 2 long-held Republican seats, and they did it, Chesley, by a wider margin than a lot of people thought they would.
Is that, you think, a trend that would be ongoing?
Chesley, it's almost like you have been asking the same question that everybody wants to know right now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the numbers and then let's talk about the trends. First off, we had about 1.5 million ballots cast in these statewide Public Service Commission races on Tuesday night. That's a lot. I got a text early in the evening from a Republican operative saying, this is almost double what we were expecting, at least in terms of day of turnout. Usually Republican voters, Republican operatives will say kind of ride to the rescue on day of voting. Democrats tend to vote earlier. But in this case, there were a lot of Democrats who voted day of as well. So big turnout. About 5 million people voted in November of 2024, so much more in a presidential year, an on-cycle year, but still a lot of votes. There are 2 trend lines. And they're kind of going in different directions depending on who you ask, right, in politics. If you ask a Democrat, they're spreading the message loud and far as they can. They're saying, look at this, we've got momentum, we're going into the 2026 midterms. They really want to wring every ounce of momentum narrative building out of this.
Absolutely.
Republicans, on the other hand, they're pointing to things that they say kind of tamp down on this. They say, look, it's off cycle. There were some tricky dynamics where a lot of municipal races were on the ballot, so you get people in more urban areas in Georgia, our cities that tend to lean blue. They're going to vote for mayor, they're going to vote for city council, and then they look down the ballot and they say, okay, who's the other Democrat here? There's going to be a lot of storytelling on both kind of points going into 2026, but there is real interest here.
Yeah. Especially in the governor's race. How are they reacting?
It was very interesting. So the AJC held, they call it their show, the Politically Georgia. They have a newsletter, they have the podcast, and they're frequent guests on the Georgia Vote, guest panelists. They had a Politically Georgia forum, a candidate forum Wednesday night, so 24 hours after this big election night. 2 Republicans were there, Chris Carr, Brad Raffensperger, both running for governor, and 4 Democrats running for governor. We talked to everybody except Raffensperger right after they cleared the stage there, so we got to get almost a little snap poll of them for ourselves. What are their reactions, early thoughts? Everybody, Chris Carr, the Republican we talked to, all 4 of the Democrats, all of them immediately started talking about affordability. People look at this PSC race as an affordability race. People worried about power prices, worried about their bills. In a world where there's not much Republicans and Democrats often agree on, in public at least, affordability seems to be the name of the game for everybody right now.
You're going to be doing that on the Georgia Vote. There was some shots thrown at each other there. I'm just going to pump up the excitement for the show. You definitely want to stay tuned for that.
Yeah, we're in some ways this is kind of the official starting gun of the real focus, the almost magnifying glass being on these 2026 races now. Now, obviously, we've had this big field of candidates for some time in the race, but there's kind of the interest is also in the 2025 races. People are looking ahead to 2026. 2025 is basically done, save for a couple municipal runoffs. 2026 is on. We're starting to see some early jabs come out inside the Democratic primary. We're seeing some coming out in the Republican side as well a little bit, and we're seeing it on the Senate side as well on the Republican side. kind of has to be at some point too. We've been seeing some polling numbers, Chesley. If you're interested, we can chat about those for a second. So the AJC released this poll, and of Democratic likely primary voters, they had former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms at 40% support. In second place was former DeKalb CEO Michael Thurmond at 11%. Former Lieutenant Governor, who was a Republican when he did it, now he's a Democrat running for governor, Jeff Duncan, in third place at 5%. Former State Senator Jason Estevez at 3%. So Keisha Lance Bottoms out to a very early lead, and a pretty sizable one in this race. But here's the other number you got to remember: 40% of voters said they were undecided. So there's a lot of people to capture, to persuade. But if you're down at maybe the lower tier of that early poll numbers, it's a snapshot in time. It's not a 5-alarm fire by any means. This is still so early. We don't want to overhype the point of a poll. But what they do at this early stage sometimes is start to get campaigns thinking, okay, what do I need to do to differentiate? What do I need to do to change the narrative? What do I need to do to start putting some distance between myself and my competitors? We saw one candidate in particular throw a couple early jabs at some of his fellow Democratic primary candidates in competition following that AJC candidate forum. And more will be coming. We're going to see this start to get more intense as the months go by.
We got a little more time here left. I want to ask you about what else is coming up on the Georgia vote for people to watch.
Man, I'm running out of cliches, but it is another full show. We have so much going on, and the overlay on all of this, we're talking about obviously the statewide PSC race. We're having this conversation about how it maybe portends for what is to come in 2026. We are sitting right now, as of 9:39 on Friday morning, while a government shutdown, record-setting shutdown, is still happening. We talked to Cabinet Secretary, Small Business Administrator Kelly Loeffler. She's in the Trump cabinet. Talked to her about the shutdown. Hear what she says coming up this Sunday.
My friend, thanks so much for joining us.
Appreciate it.
And congratulations again on your big win.
Very funny, very funny. This is the win, being here with you.
You can watch Georgia Vote with Zach Merchant and Faith Jesse Sunday morning at 11 o'clock right here on 11Alive Plus. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back to the show. Tesla stockholders or shareholders just approved a compensation deal that could put Elon Musk into uncharted territory. CNN's Maribel Aber joins us now from the NASDAQ market site in New York. Good morning, Aunt Maribel.
Hey, good morning, Chesley.
Hey, he's already a billionaire, right? He seems like he's going for your title as a trillionaire.
Chesley. So Tesla shareholders approved a pay package for Elon Musk that could make him the world's first trillionaire. It gives him about 424 million company shares that could grow to 1 trillion in value over the next decade. Tesla would need to eventually reach 8.5 trillion in market cap to make that happen, a goal that would require the company's share value to jump from 466% from where it is today. Now, the EV maker also needs to meet a series of operational and financial targets to distribute the full shares. Musk reportedly told board members after their vote that he, quote, super appreciates it. Chesley, go big or go home. I mean, it's a stretch goal for sure.
I'm sure he was not upset by it at all. Gee whiz, trillionaire. Wow. That's something. All right, if we hear lose 20% of your body weight, it sounds like an infomercial punchline, but it may become a fact, right?
Eli Lilly is advancing its experimental obesity drug after promising test results. Chesley, the weekly injection helped patients lose an average of 20% of their body weight during earlier trials. The drug is based on an amylin analog. It's a synthetic hormone that combines with insulin to suppress appetite and reduce food intake. Many industry experts see amylins as like an alternative to current GLP-1 meds. Rivals like Roche and AbbVie are also investing billions to buy or invest the same treatments. Danish drug maker Novo Nordisk is in the bidding war with Pfizer to buy Metsera, which has a monthly amylin drug in its portfolio. Eli Lilly's drug now begins late-stage testing. Chesley.
All right, we'll wait to hear more on that. All right, we got another recall here on a green supplement powder after a salmonella outbreak. Tell us about it.
Yeah, Super Green supplement powder sold at Sam's Club nationwide being recalled over salmonella concerns. It comes in containers branded Members Mark. The FDA confirms at least 11 infections across several states. So far, none in Georgia, though. There are those cases, 3 of those cases involved hospitalization. Customers should throw the powder away or return it for a refund. Affected batch details can be found on the FDA's website. Chesley.
All right, so I'm not quite sure what 6-7 means. Everybody's using it now. I'm hearing about vibe coding. Right, it actually became the word of the year for 2025.
And doesn't even make sense, Chesley, because it's 2 words. Vibe coding has been crowned as the word of the year by Collins Dictionary. It's technically 2 words. It means asking an AI chatbot to help write computer code. It was coined by tech pioneer Andrej Karpathy. He's a former director of AI at Tesla and a founding engineer at OpenAI. Other word nominees were task masking, which means looking busy at work without actually working. Hello, George Costanza. Hey, micro retirement, which is taking a break between jobs to pursue bucket list adventures, or to shower someone with excessive flattery when they don't deserve it is glazing them, and creating a charismatic persona in life or online is called aura farming. I don't want to confuse you more, Chesley, but in pop culture, vibe coding means adjusting your energy or your vibe to the room. I'm going to need a whole alternative dictionary, period.
Yeah, really. I'm aging out. I'm really aging out. I feel so weird now.
We just have to ask all the questions, Chesley. That's all.
Right. What did you say that
Be
again?
curious.
Say it in a different way. Say it. Yeah.
Vibe coding.
Vibe coding. Got it. Thanks, Maribel. Really appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
You got it.
All right. Coming up on the show, a Snellville man receives a great honor for being a hero. We're going to talk to him right after the break. Well, it wasn't long ago that John Trey Phillips was relaxing. He's from Snellville, was relaxing poolside in Orlando when he saw a man pulled from the water unconscious and not breathing. Well, he jumped into action. He's a flight nurse with Air Evac Life Team. He jumped into action performing CPR and saved that man's life. This past weekend, his actions earned him the honor of being one of this nation's stars of life. Now, Phillips joins us now on the show. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. Good morning.
Absolutely. Trey, first of all, we just want to salute you in what you do and what you did. And so this happened while you were on vacation?
I was actually down for a training exercise, and I was off duty at the time at the pool, and I noticed some commotion going on. They were pulling a gentleman out of the pool. When I got to him, he was not breathing, didn't have a pulse. So we started CPR, and I was able to get a pulse back, and he was actually conscious and alert when the fire department got there to transport him to the hospital.
What went through your mind? You're sitting there poolside, you see what's happening, you said, you saw what happened. I mean, was it instant? You just jumped up, you knew what to do?
Yeah, it's just kind of like an automatic response, I guess. After all these years, you just kind of jump into action, and it's different when you don't have any equipment, but you still have the feeling of wanting to jump in there and do something. And fortunately, the CPR that I was able to give was enough to keep him alive and get him back until EMS could get there.
Yeah, when the man that you saved regained consciousness, what's the first thing that went through your mind?
I was relieved. A lot of times we don't see them regain consciousness that quickly. I knew that was a good sign.
Yeah. And then you got honored for it this past weekend. Talk to me about the huge recognition you got.
Well, we were recognized. About 150 people nationwide received the Star of Life Award for different acts of heroism. We met with senators and congressmen. It's a huge honor. I was nominated by my company, Global Medical Response, our parent company, and it was just a wonderful time to be with family and friends and colleagues. And
yeah, is that the honor? Is that your ribbon that you have on right now? Is that what they gave you?
So this is the medal that they gave us here. They also gave us a little plaque.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that, man? Do you consider yourself a hero?
No, I was just doing what anybody else would do.
I don't know about that.
I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
Mm-hmm.
We don't always have great outcomes in our line of work, so we do what we can and we hope for the best. And this was one of those cases that worked out well.
You mentioned that you didn't have equipment with you when this was happening. What would be different if you were actually on the job?
I didn't even have a pair of gloves on me. Wow. So I was unable to actually ventilate the patient because of precautions, so I did compressions, and after he regained consciousness, started breathing, he was vomiting a little bit. I would have had suction there. Mm-hmm. I used pool towels. That was the only thing I could get to, was turn him on the side, use some pool towels to get his mouth clear.
Yeah. How do moments like this, reaffirm your belief in what you're doing as a first responder?
Well, fortunately, CPR is something that anybody can do, anybody can learn to do, and you never know when you're going to need it. It may be someone that you love that needs CPR. I would get out there and if you're not CPR trained, get CPR trained. I train about 200 people a year in CPR across Atlanta.
And that's doing it without equipment, right?
That's just the chest compressions and just what you have on you.
Absolutely. Snellville must be very proud of you. Your family must be very proud of you. What are they saying to you now?
Well, my son was particularly impressed. He's 11 years old, my youngest, and he got to meet Senator Warnock. And he was very impressed with the whole experience up there. They called Dad a hero, but just doing my job.
Yeah. So, Trey, first of all, I just want to thank you, man, for all that you do. And you do it effortlessly, and you probably don't get the recognition that you should, as all first responders. So we just want to take some time out to say thank you, man, for all that you do for our community and communities everywhere you serve, and even when you're on vacation, right, ready to snap into action. Thanks so much.
Right. Thank you.
All right, take care. All right, folks, we'll have a final look at your forecast, plus my final take when we return. All right, I'm gonna combine my final take with the forecast because that's what you need to know, folks. We got mild air over us, and we've been that way for the last couple of days, as a matter of fact. And so we'll be going from mild air to cold, straight cold. That's going to be a shock to the system, which is why we're alerting you early. We got mild air in place today. We've seen those temperatures in the mid-70s. We're going to do it again today and tomorrow as well. It won't be until we get to Sunday that some of that cold air will start to evect or push its way into our area. Got a cold front that's going to come through. We'll feel it on Sunday night, really. That's when those temperatures will really start to fall off, and I think they'll be down into the 30s. Guess what? On Monday, we'll only make highs in the low to mid 40s. That's how cold it's going to be, and our winds will be a bit stronger as well, so the wind chill will make it feel even colder out there. Monday night, going into Tuesday, is where we'll experience the coldest temperatures. Our overnight lows will get down into the 20s, so you know it's going to feel like the teens out there in some spots. But the good news is this, that it comes in and it gets out rather quickly, so that we'll modify those temperatures a bit and get back to feeling pretty good again once we get toward Tuesday afternoon into Wednesday. I talked about the wind chills. This is the way it's going to be, especially in the evenings. You're looking at a 26-degree wind chill right there on Monday morning. Look at this, feeling like 20 by Tuesday morning. So it's going to be very, very cold, especially with those winds. What do you need to know? Well, know that it's going to be cold and windy on Monday. We may even have a few snow flurries in the North Georgia mountains there. This is going to be a hard freeze. So if you have tender vegetation, folks, you want to bring that in. We talk about the 4 P's. People, you want to check on the elderly. You want to check on your pets as well, bring them inside. Pipes, and also plants, right? You want to bring in your tender vegetation, folks, or cover it up if you can't bring it inside. So we're talking about Monday through Tuesday morning for our 11Alive weather impact alert. Dress warmly and, of course, protect those tender plants. Bring them on inside, folks. Your 7-day outlook shows that we'll have some rain even coming in as we head through the weekend. We're looking at the chance for some scattered showers to be around the forecast area as we head into Saturday morning. I think in the wee hours of the morning, some of those thunderstorms could be on the strong severe side, so be on the lookout for that. Mainly wind and lightning associated with a few of those. Hopefully you'll be nestled in bed and sleep. Notice on Sunday we have a 20% chance, but that'll be mainly during the morning. 67 degrees will be the afternoon high, and then that 20-degree drop off on Monday. That's where we're going to really feel the cold, so bundle up, and then we'll start to warm it back up as we head into Wednesday and Thursday of next week. So be advised, we told you it was going to happen. So I know on Monday you'll say, you didn't tell us this. Yes, we did. Have a great weekend, folks, and stay safe.